So, Bob, if you don't mind, maybe just give me quick name or rank and title and how long
Yeah,
you've been at Federated.
yeah. So Bob Kemp, I'm the Global Chief Information Security Officer for Federated. I've been here, will be 6 years in March. I've been a CISO. 2026 will mark 22 years that I've been in cyber.
Nice.
I've held several different roles during that time, but they all were responsible for cyber in some fashion.
Yep. So as part of this, and just get my questions pulled up here. Given your journey, Bob, I would love to kind of hear how you describe your journey, right? I think a lot of it starts off in pure IT, right? And over time, this cybersecurity buzzword came about, right? So I would love to sort of hear how you'd like to describe your journey.
Yeah, so mine actually starts slightly different. And when people get to hear the end of where I've landed, they're like, oh, that makes sense. I started as an accountant. So I actually went to college to be a programmer. I did that for a semester and said, there's no way I'm doing this the rest of my life.
Right.
No offense to developers, but it wasn't for me.
Yep.
And so I landed on my next strength, which was math. And so I graduated from Robert Morris with dual degrees in accounting and finance. I went back and earned my MBA after that. I had my plan was to be an FBI agent.
Oh, wow.
And do forensic accounting for the FBI. But, so some things happened and that didn't work out. So I came out of school as an accountant working for UPS. And I started a traditional path there, which was seasonal help, loading and unloading package cars.
Absolutely.
And then I moved into a management role in the accounting function for UPS. So I did that for a couple of years. They consolidated and they offered me an option not to relocate, but to either take one of two options, which was drive a package car.
Okay.
And some days I look back and think maybe I should have done that.
Yeah.
There are days.
Soothing. Could have been soothing.
There are days. Mindless work, sometimes.
Right.
Or to go into IT. So I took the IT path. So I was doing operational center support. I was supporting 4 different, distribution centers. And then they consolidated into a centralized help desk, just like they did with the accounting function.
Okay.
So they moved the accounting function out of Pittsburgh to New Jersey. And then they moved the IT support function out of Jersey and the rest of the district's regions into Pittsburgh. So I did that. I left UPS. I was just a help desk guy supporting systems.
And didn't you write some sort of like program there that went on to be used by...
So when I was in accounting, I was a nighttime accounting manager responsible for accounts payable and billing and data entry and billing.
Okay.
We didn't have computers as managers. There were no computers on a desk except for the controller and the data processing people.
Wow.
They're the only ones with PCs. And so I had asked, hey, can I bring in my own PC? Because there's some things here I would like to do. And they let me do that. It wasn't network connected. I was able to connect the printer to it. And so I came up with a bunch of different spreadsheets and things. Back in the day, our email was all over the IBM mainframe.
Right.
And so we had terminals we would walk up to and check our email on.
That's crazy.
But I developed some spreadsheets that kind of helped us track the work we were doing and show some stats and, started, the whole discussion about you can't improve what you don't measure.
Right.
Well, this allowed us to start measuring things. And so that year, because of that, we added desktops to all managers' desks.
Okay.
And we networked them. We found an application to run, our RACF email on those, so we no longer share a terminal for email.
Yep.
And we improved our audit scores in the accounting function. I think the previous year we were at like 65% to 96% that year.
That's amazing. That's
Right.
amazing.
And some of it was just the use of technology and in getting better visibility into what we were working.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Um,
that's crazy
so
how that seems like so long ago too, right?
yeah, yeah. So I moved from there over to Computer Associates, where I ran a help desk of 40 people doing inbound customer calls, not internal calls, but external customers.
Got
So
it.
that was a real experience, right? Listening to clients that signed $1 million ELAs and trying to get their product to work, and that was challenging. It was fun, but it was challenging. And I
Oh
moved
yeah.
from that role into a customer facing role as a technical account manager.
Okay.
So doing mostly pre-sales and some back end kind of adoption type work.
Got
So,
it.
ensuring they were adopting technology. And at the time, CA kind of made a shift where um, their NPS scores were really low,
Okay.
really low. And they said, we need to do something different. So they took a bunch of us and turned us into it was a weird paradigm because we carried the title account manager, but we didn't carry the quota,
I see. Okay.
right? But we were responsible for the relationship with all the clients. And so then they turned all the salespeople from account managers into sales specialists. And so the sales specialist couldn't meet with a client unless we authorized it,
Got it.
right? And so it went from this, I just have something to sell you, to I care about the relationship. I want to see you adopt the technology we've sold you. We want to see you, get value out of your investment with us.
Truly being their trusted advisor, right?
Yeah, exactly. And at one point, that they changed their name to trusted advisors from account managers.
Okay.
Um, and when they did that, they tried to charge for it, and that kind of went sideways. We've been giving you the service for free for 3 years, and now we want to charge you for Bob's time.
Yeah.
But we did that for about 5 years, and again, our NPS, and there were about 700 of us throughout the organization.
Okay.
Our NPS went from 60 some to back in the 90s through that program.
That's wildly impressive.
Yeah. And it's during that time that I started working with Sheets.
Okay.
And
Great Western Pennsylvania firm.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Sheets. I actually put a lot of new product into Sheets. They were one of those clients that were ready to dump all their product. And working with them, I identified some challenges that they were having, some of the resourcing issues that they had, got them some services. And I think we went from the beginning of that year to the end of that year of them going from, hey, I'm going to dump everything I have with CA, to they signed another $1.5 million agreement to add more product.
Oh wow.
So, but at the end of the CA run, Sheets had come around and said, hey, we're starting a security program, and they offered me the position. So that's how I got started in security. Before that, it was kind of pure IT and business process accounting, things like that. And then the Sheet, I spent almost 10 years with Sheets, and it was a great experience. It was a great learning environment, right? So for the first 6 months, and I told him, I said, look, I don't know squat about security. I know a little bit about RACF because we use it. I know a little bit about, these tools that we sold, and I know what they do.
Yeah.
And
security was never like the main focus, right?
Correct. It wasn't. But their response was that doesn't matter, right? You've helped us succeed with our products. You seem to have a good leadership style. You seem to understand technology. You understand the business process. We'll train you on the rest of it.
Yeah.
So literally for 6 months, I was on the road going to conferences and getting certificates and working with, other folks in the industry one-on-one. So I was fortunate that you're familiar with Dave Kennedy, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So Dave gave me my first deep dive into security and things to
It's a great
the
teacher.
really
Yeah.
technical side of security. I spent 2 weeks in a conference room with Dave, just me and him, right?
That's, I mean, talk about one of the goats and what a great
Yeah.
person to learn from.
So, I really think that his perspective, and then at the time, the rest of his team that I worked with helped define how I approach security,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm very much still very technical, although you don't want me building firewalls or writing rules these days. But I can sit in with the staff level engineers and have that conversation with them. Right?
Absolutely.
Why are you doing it this way?
Yep.
Why aren't you thinking about this? And that's kind of how I run the program. All my programs are they're strong on the technical side, but then I lean on my years in accounting and finance to kind of bridge the gap, right? So one of the things that happened to me at Sheets, I was probably 6-9 months into the job, and every manager had an opportunity to present to the executive team at least once a year.
Very cool.
And you work with the CIO and you put together your presentation and you get in there and that all goes to hell the first 5 minutes when the CEO starts asking you off the wall questions.
Exactly.
Right. And so I came out of that meeting with a different understanding about what they were looking for, right? So up to that point, I'm just running technology. I'm in technology. I didn't really have much exposure to anything else.
Yeah.
We didn't have a
your own little
CISO.
echo chamber.
Like
yeah.
I was trying to build firewalls and lock down the network and get endpoint detection or AV up and running, right? Those things.
Right.
And then I sit and they ask me all these questions about, okay, what's this and what's that? And why do I care about this? And how does some threat actor in China know about us? We're a family owned business in central PA.
Yep.
Right. And so my 5-minute presentation turned into 45 minutes of questions and answers.
Wow.
That first meeting.
Captive audience, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was. And it was a great lesson in, I did a few things before I went in there. I talked to some of the other managers that had been there for a long time. What do you present? How do you present? What questions do they ask you?
Yeah.
And really tried to learn the language.
Yep.
And so the next time I went in, and so that was just kind of a minor update. And then I went back. Anytime you asked for large dollar amounts, that you had to go present your case.
Sure.
And so I went in with this, was about $2.4 million project to upgrade all our switches across the entire state.
Oh,
and they asked some tough questions, and at the end of the day, it was, I responded with the answers in the way they get sold.
Sure.
Basically, right?
So the way they need to understand it.
We had this concept of two different concepts that we used was dollars per store day.
Okay.
So you take all the days, you take all the stores and the days that they're opened, right? And there's a cost figure associated with it.
Sure.
If you're generating revenue above that figure, it's an easy sell.
Good to go.
If you're reducing costs below that figure, it's an easy sell.
Yep.
Right. Things in the middle, not so easy.
Yeah.
But I was the first IT person, and I never considered myself IT, even though I sat in IT. But I was the first IT person that went into that meeting and said, well, here's what this project means in cost per store day.
Awesome.
The other thing they always ask is, how many hot dogs do I have to sell to cover the cost of this? And so I had that number as well. It was like 17,000.
Wow, that's a lot of hot dogs.
Additional hot dogs.
Yeah.
But because of that, that went to another level, which was not only did they give me that funding, the CEO called me in and he said, okay, what else do you need?
Wow.
He's like, what would you do differently if we were doing this from a greenfield? And how much would you need to do that?
You clearly spoke their language and were
Yeah.
able to quickly become the trusted advisor. You know, that thread we talked about earlier when you were back at CA.
Yes.
When you speak someone's language like that, and you obviously did the work going into the meeting to prepare yourself for that, that's amazing. So kind of fast forwarding that to today and also thinking about one of my next questions I'm dying to ask you, right? I love asking about what's one of the biggest misconceptions younger cyber professionals have about what being a CISO actually means or what it
Yes.
is. Um,
I think I've got a few people that I mentor that want to be CISOs,
sure.
right? And to me, I think their biggest misconception is that technology is the key to their success.
Yep.
It's not,
Yep.
right? You see successful CISOs that are technology focused, but you really can't be successful with this job if you don't understand the business and you can translate that technology into business impact.
Right.
Right. And it's no different in this role than if you were a CTO.
Yeah,
Right.
no doubt. Exactly.
Technology isn't a means in and of itself. It's a means to an end of something that, value creation.
Sure.
Right. Because I can do a lot of things without technology. They're painful.
Yep.
Right. They're not efficient. But there's so much that I can't do without the relationships and understanding the business and, having that support and backing of the business executives.
Sure. From your perspective, kind of staying on that thought for a second, and you think about how maybe some of the younger generation really thinks about the technology aspect of that. Um, what what is maybe an overhyped thing in security these days that people are spending way too much energy on, and you would maybe wish they would go back to the basics, right?
Um, so I don't know if it's any one thing. I think technologists, and I think in the heart, most security staff are technologists,
Sure.
right? I think all technologists get hung up with thinking they know more than they do. And so I don't care what the technology is, I don't care what's happening. What I think is missed is the ability to go back to the basics. I have one guy on my team, and he's been at this for 38 years.
Yeah.
But he is absolutely excellent at grounding people when we have something on. It could be an event we're investigating. It could be an operational issue. It could be a technology failure, right? It could be any of those. He's fantastic. And I pull him in just for this reason, to ground people and say, okay, let's go back to basics. Is it turned on? Right? Was it updated recently? What changes were made? Let's go back to the basics, instead of so many technologists think about, well, if I do this and I do this, and they overcomplicate, right? And 95% of the time in my 30 years in technology, going back to the basics will find that issue.
Yeah, 1,000%, right? Focusing on first principles and, is it an operating system level problem? Is it a network problem? Is it an app problem? And
so often I see technologists want to start just making changes. Let's try this. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Maybe this will work. Well, it looks like it's this kind of problem. Well, you're only seeing a piece of it. You're seeing your piece of the world, right?
Yeah.
And so getting that larger piece. And so I think that's to me, I don't know if it's really overhyped, but that's one of the major issues, right? I think the other thing, if I think about the overhyped question, is really understanding the risk to your organization in your control set.
Mhm.
And so one of the other challenges or opportunities that I see in the industry is a news story comes out. Executives respond to that story, right? And I see so many of my peers not able to respond with, well, listen, this isn't a problem. Let me remind you why. Last quarter, we talked about XYZ that we implemented to solve for this problem. Oh, by the way, we have multiple layers of controls, right? This phishing attack is just one level of an attack mechanism. They have to do 2 or 3 other things in order to really be an issue for us. So yeah, it's bad that somebody fell for a phish, right? But the next layer of our controls kicked in as it should. And so not falling prey to the hype, the media hype that happens.
Yep. But to your point, you have to be prepared to answer those questions. And
sure,
you know, when you walk into that, you know, quarterly audit committee meeting or board meeting, that story of the day, you know, could come up. One of the fun questions I love to ask is if you could put a message on a billboard that, you know, every
I
new
have so
CISO,
many. How much space do I have?
yeah.
So
fine print.
So there are a couple, and I'll give them in the order that I kind of try to manage by, which is number one, you don't own the risk. We do not own the risk as CISO. I see so many CISOs, and I did this early in my career, try to own the risk. The risk isn't ours. The only risk I own is the risk of a system that I put in that I'm managing that may not meet our general controls or one of our control environments. But I don't own the data risk of the organization, right? The board does. The executive for that division does. The person responsible for that system does, right? And it's a shared responsibility. I own the risk. I own the obligation to identify the potential risk.
And to help implement, you know, controls potentially that mitigate those risks.
In some cases, I don't even own that, right? I might have a responsibility to help evaluate, does the control that XYZ team come up with, does it really help mitigate the risk?
Totally. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Do you say that because you feel like a lot of CISOs want to shoulder that and carry that?
I feel a lot of CISOs are made to shoulder that.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And I really think it's a conversation. It's the way you change the conversation, and it's difficult, right? It's not every organization wants to accept this risk. People, I've had previous employers that say, "This is what I hired you for." No, you hired me to identify the risk. This risk has always existed. Right. And before I was here, you weren't aware of it. Right. Now you're aware of it. You need to do something. You need to fund it. If you want me to go fix it, I will. But it's still your risk to own.
And that gets back to organizations having a robust understanding of risk management and a risk management function, which varies by industry greatly.
Absolutely. And I'm fortunate in financial services that we have that risk understanding because everything
Federated understands risk inherently.
Right? It's regulated. It's
totally.
So, you know, I'm fortunate in that perspective. The other one that I would give people, and this was given to me by one of my mentors years ago. A good idea is always a good idea. Timing is everything. So just because you think it's a good idea to implement XYZ now, and your executive or your leadership or your executive team doesn't want to fund it, doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means the timing wasn't right.
Yep. Timing is everything. Timing is everything.
So, you know, that's where I've got this nickname, the last 3 companies, that I'm a bulldog, because I just don't let things drop, right? So they go on my backlog. Every couple quarters, I'll bring them up. Hey, I want to raise this issue again. I'd still like us to do XYZ. It's still an important function that we should have enabled here.
Well, that's part of diligent risk management too, right? You know, you may accept, you know, the risk of not doing something today. That might change 3 months from now, 6 months from now, right? And business conditions often dictate, how much risk you can cover and what the risk appetite is, and business conditions change quite a bit. And that's why that's a great piece of advice. You should never let that kind of drop off your radar.
Yeah, so many people will say, well, the boss doesn't want to do that, so must not be important.
Yeah, and they'll tuck it away forever, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But yeah, to your point, maybe it's just not right now. Yeah. That's amazing. Anything else for the billboard?
No, I think, the other one that I did want to touch on was, concepts or philosophies.
Yeah.
There are two that, and there's a third that kind of has informed some of my thinking over the years. But one of the first ones I read in college was "Love is the Killer App" by Tim Sanders.
Okay.
And Tim grew up in the AOL space and Yahoo space.
Okay.
So he was a VP of IT, then digital marketing, and a number of things. So he has a pretty interesting career. But "Love is the Killer App" it goes along. This one may be something you're more familiar with Zig Ziglar,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you can get everything you want if you help enough people get what they want.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so "Love is the Killer App" is kind of the same thing. It's kind of a service mentality, which is
Sure.
how can I help you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish?
Sure. Absolutely.
And it's one of those philosophies that has kind of built my relationship building philosophy, right? Of what do you need? What are you not getting from my team? What are you not getting from IT? Where can I help fill the gap? What can we do differently? What goal are you trying to accomplish that I can help you accomplish?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole give to get mentality, right? And you serve others well. You worry more about their needs than your needs.
Yeah, but I think that's the key, right? Is that so many people go into that with, okay, I'm going to do this so I get this. That's not the
Sure.
point.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
this to help progress the organization. I'm doing this to just help someone else meet their goals. I'm not doing it to expect something in return. That may be
Yeah,
the final
exactly.
outcome, right? But I think your perspective on it is very important of how you approach that, because it does affect the relationship.
Yeah. No doubt. The orientation, if you look at the trust equation, everything's over the self-orientation, right? And if the orientation is all about me, what can I take? That'll never, be a winning scenario. And I think it sounds like that's something you learned very, very early on in your career, back all the way back to the UPS and CA days, right?
Yes,
And that became core to your philosophies, kind of throughout.
absolutely.
I
And
love
then
that. Yeah,
the
go ahead.
third one is "Outliers" by can't never think of his name.
Um,
Maxwell.
yeah.
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm
Yeah,
Gladwell. Yeah, I always
yeah,
put his names together. And you say, well, that's a really strange one, right? Because it's about culture. And but what I took from that is that we each kind of have our own areas that we excel in, right? So we recently did a Gallup Strength Finder here with
oh yeah.
my team,
Hmm.
and that focuses on that. So some of those personality tests focuses on weaknesses, right? How do I improve my weaknesses? And for me,
Yep.
Outliers, and I read it many years ago, was about how do I identify my strengths and maximize those, and then taking some other management leadership learnings and filling in the gaps of how do you surround yourself with people with those strengths where you have weaknesses, right? If I'm weak
Absolutely.
at marketing, how do I get a marketing person on my team?
Yeah. It's who, not how, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that philosophy. I think so many people, will say, "Hey, I'm really, deficient at this thing," and they spend all their energy trying to get, incrementally a little bit better at that thing, when it's maybe more of, "Hey, let's find someone on the team that, like, that's their
That's what they
natural
love.
calling." Yeah,
Yes.
totally. And
Yeah,
Um,
and I've worked for organizations that do the negative side, right? Even in your reviews,
sure,
put nothing positive in review, only things that you need to work on,
sure.
right? And
Yeah,
so it changed the whole fabric of the organization.
yeah. So where can you double down? That's amazing. So when you think about your team, Bob, and how people work and work together and the skill sets they have, do you encourage your team then to double down on strengths and to find, you know, uh,
Yeah.
how do we put together a
So,
team
so,
that's greater than the sum of the parts?
so one of the interesting things that came out of the Gallup was that I have a lot of very similar people on my team,
Okay, sure,
right?
sure,
So there are a couple areas I looked at. I'm like, okay, if I'm hiring, I need to try to fill this gap, right?
sure. Yep,
But it's also very interesting in the way we utilize our resources because we have, I'll have this discussion with I have a kind of chief of staff person
yep,
on my team, and she's a great project manager. She's really great at our um, processes. She knows how to work the process here. She's not really great at the technology, and I don't want her to be,
no,
right? But she tries to be. And so I have to keep reminding her, I'm like, well, go use such and such, but he's not on my team. Like, I don't care. He's on my team.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah, sure,
represent me, right? And so any of the resources that report into this organization, matter of fact, any resources that report anywhere else in the organization are fair game.
yeah,
It's just how you approach them, right? If they're on my team, you just go tell um, Ennis, one of your peers, that, hey, I need Wade for 20 hours to do
sure,
XYZ,
sure,
right? And that's going to happen. Now, I may have to do a little bit more wheeling and dealing to get somebody from another team, but
yeah,
we're all here for the same goal and objective.
absolutely. Yeah, and if you could put together a team that, brings their best selves and brings their unique abilities to the table, uh, that's fantastic. Now, I totally understand her position too, that, she wants to most likely uh, not want to have or feel like an imposter. We hear this word imposter syndrome all the time.
Yep.
Um, I personally don't love that phrase because I think it's been used a little too much, overused a bit. When I think sometimes it's just another word for learning.
Yeah. I always tell her, and I've got a couple others, the same thing. I'm like, I wouldn't be asking you to do this if you weren't capable,
Absolutely.
right? This isn't about capability. And to me, imposter syndrome is getting to a position where you don't feel you're capable,
Yeah.
right? And so this isn't about you being capable. This is about stretching you a little bit beyond your comfort zone
Yep.
to see if you can move to the next level, which is how do I get this done when it's not me doing it?
Sure.
And maybe I don't have direct influence over the resource that needs to do it
Yep.
or is the
No
right
doubt.
resource to do it.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's a beautiful thing. It sounds like you've built a great team, Bob.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very happy with my team. I think my team, we get a lot of accolades here.
yeah.
I knock on wood, I have a lot of people asking to join our team in one capacity or another. So, my philosophy, my basic leadership style, I came from staff level people, right? I didn't come from a family that was business oriented. My dad was a coal miner. My uncle was a coal miner. I was the first person in our family to go to college.
Wow.
So, I kind of try to remember those roots and
Absolutely.
I treat everyone like a person. I try not to have an ego. It doesn't always happen.
Right.
But I try to always relate and help them understand where I'm coming from or where management's coming from. And I found that if you just treat people that way, they respond. Give them a little bit of respect. It goes a long way.
No doubt. They're not human resources, they're just humans, right?
Yes.
We're all human, and hopefully everyone's trying to do the best that they can every day for the greater good. So,
Well, one thing, just to get it on the record here. So when we go back to like what's the most underhyped security control?
sure.
Egress filtering. I
Okay.
see so few companies doing true egress filtering, which is really understanding where should my data go and do I have it locked down the way it should be?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would tell you, we have, when I joined here, it was one of the things that really struck me is the level of egress filtering we do. It
Yep.
has saved my bacon more times than I can tell you, because it's like, wait a minute, that's not normal traffic, right?
Yeah.
Why is this
Everyone's so
happening?
focused on keeping things out
Out.
and the right. Uh,
Yes,
where, yeah, I mean, you have to at some point submit like, hey, there is going to be something bad that slips through, right? Something that, the flaw in the Death Star, so to speak.
yes,
And when that happens, we want to be able to detect it fast enough, because if you could detect it fast enough, you could limit the damage tremendously.
absolutely. Right. It's all, again, it's back to, the discussion you have with executives when you see something. There's a attack pattern and there's a kill chain pattern.
Yep.
Right. And so where do the two intersect, and do I have coverage, and how quickly do I get to a kill chain mechanism, right? Like in the attack pattern, is it step one? Is
Earlier
it
in it, the
step two,
better.
step
Yep.
three?
Yep.
The later in the pattern, the attack pattern I get, the more risk we have.
No doubt. Yep. And
So
the higher the impact gets
yeah,
at that point too.
absolutely.
Well, on question 12, Bob, you can answer this in a couple different ways. I mean, I've been asking, folks, if there's someone else or another leader that that deserves to maybe, share their story and why, or if there's somebody in your circle or your past that you would like to express gratitude to and thank them for, uh, a lot of what you learned. So either way, however you want to answer that.
Yes. So there's a couple. Um, there's a few. So my former at travel centers, the person that moved into the security role when I took the CTO position,
Yep.
I think is deserving. Like he's done a phenomenal job with that program. He did a phenomenal job when he was working for me. Um, and he's continued that as they've kind of got reacquired by BP, and
Yep.
trying to find a home in a much larger organization. But I think he's a brilliant CISO. He used to be the network manager, right? And
Oh, wow.
we moved him into that role. So his name's Eric DePamphilis.
Okay.
Um, really sharp guy. Here in Pittsburgh, I think there are a couple that come to mind. So John O'Rourke from PPG.
Yep.
You probably know John. Sam.
Already have done a session with John.
Okay. So Sam from Kennametal.
Okay. Yep. I know Sam, but
Um,
not very well.
yeah. So Sam and John and I would kind of get together every once in a while and share war stories.
Nice.
Um, Beyond that, most of the people that I would express gratitude to have retired and are no longer in the industry.
Sure. Sure.
So, but one of my former managers at Sheets, I think he gave me a lot of latitude to learn and opportunity, which I've always appreciated, because I don't, without that, I don't know that I would have gotten to this point.
Yeah.
Um, because I think, I went into that position with no experience whatsoever. And he's like, just go find trainings and I'll pay for them. Go do this. And, it was that plus he was someone that knew how to work the organization there as well. So the guidance he'd give you about presentations and how to ask for things and who to get on your side before you went into the meeting, like that. He taught me a lot about how work gets done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nuances of being successful in that particular organization. It sounds like
Yeah.
he was your Sherpa.
Yeah. And then I think here, if I think about my time at Federated, there are a couple people, my direct manager, and pretty much the entire leadership structure here has been extremely supportive. I tell the team here all the time, I've been doing this, like I said, going on 22 years. This is the most supportive executive team for security that I've ever worked for.
Yep.
Right. Um, my team has grown from 6 to 29 in 6 years. We're doing a lot. Knock on wood, they've not told me no for anything.
Yeah.
And so that support's important. And it's not, I've been able to gain that support in other organizations, but it was a lot tougher battle, right?
Sure.
It was we could sit one day and I can give you some of the horror stories about things that happened that I had raised concerns for, and they didn't want to fund, and then this happens, and like, well, why didn't you do something about this?
Yeah.
Right. And Federated hasn't taken it that way. Matter of fact, this entire business, right? If it's a security issue, doesn't matter which executive I'm talking to, they're like, what do you need?
Sure.
It's security related. Okay, well, you need my team to stop doing that. We'll stop doing that.
Yeah. Well, probably shows a couple of things. I mean, obviously they take security very seriously at Federated, and I think we all know that given the industry they're in. But I think that also speaks to a key theme throughout here, which is finding ways to establish trust. And, thankfully, your mentor at Sheets instilled trust in you early on.
Yes.
And he gave you some of that freedom.
Let me add something to the young cyber professionals that are wanting to be CISOs.
Please.
Communication. Learn the nuances, right? So it's not just about how do I put together a PowerPoint presentation? How do I put together a PowerPoint presentation with the right language for the right audience to get what I want? How do I challenge the rest of the IT teams here all the time. When you see my presentation, and again, this was from learnings that I was afforded when I was at Sheets.
Mm-hmm.
No more than 5 slides ever. No more than 5 slides.
No death
What's
by
the
PowerPoint.
problem? What are you asking for? What's it going to solve? What are you asking for?
Sure.
Right. And so having them learn how to communicate, how to translate from tech. I still see so many CISOs just want to sit and talk about acronyms.
Yeah.
Right. Even now, I have somebody help prepare my board memos and my board decks. And I have to go through every time. I'm like, no, you can't say EDR. You have to point endpoint detection. And then you have to have a glossary to tell them what that is. They don't know. They don't care. Right. And for the most part, I try to leave that out, but sometimes you can't. You have to ask for certain things. You're like, hey, they want to know, boards have gotten smarter. They want to know. They want to hear the buzzwords.
Sure.
Are you doing MFA? Do you have single sign-on? Do you, what's your EDR strategy look like?
Yeah.
And so you put that in there, but I think so many CISOs, young CISOs, or people wanting to get into this role don't understand all the nuance of the soft skills that are required. The back channel meetings that you have to get things accomplished. Like, I teach my team every day. When we get to that meeting to ask for approval, we should already know that it's approved.
Totally. Yeah.
It's a checkbox. That meeting should never take more than 5 minutes.
You planted all the right seeds many, many months ago, right?
Yeah.
No doubt. So yeah, I mean, key themes throughout. Yes, technology is very important, but it's really the softer side. It's the culture. It's the way you communicate. It's the way that you build trust.
Absolutely.
It's the way that you interact as another human being and build those things.
The other side of that is, or another component of that, I would say, is that knowing when to stand your ground.
Sure.
So the other thing I see that damages reputation with CISOs is they cave. When they get challenged, they just cave and say, no, well, that's not that important. Well, why'd you bring it forward in the first place?
Sure.
And so you have to have a backbone, right?
Yep.
Now, you don't want to always be swinging that bat, but you need to know when are you willing to die on that hill?
Yeah. You have to be willing to have an opinion and stick by it sometimes, right?
Yes. Yep. Doesn't mean it's going to go your way.
No.
Right. But what I found is 98% of the time, if I'm passionate about it, right, and I'm presenting the right information, then the organization gets on board.
Exactly. And if you're doing it in a way that speaks their language and you've built that trust with the people in the room, I think eventually, they're going to hear you.
And if they don't get on board, then you make sure that you've documented everything and you're covered. Because
Yeah.
again, at the end of the day, I don't own the risk.
Right.
They do.
Yep.
Right.
And there's risk acceptance mechanisms and you follow those, right? You can't blindly just say we accept it, but
Right.
Stating the why, or maybe why not right now, to your point earlier, maybe this is something we revisit in 6 months when business conditions change potentially.
Yeah. I mean, you go in asking for a $5 million project, you might not know that there's a business issue that we're bleeding money on.
Right.
Right. And you're not going to know. They're not going to tell you that information.
Exactly.
Right? They're going to say, no, we can't fund that right now.
Exactly. Yep.
So.
Well, Bob, this has been extremely invigorating to get a little window into your philosophies and kind of your background. I want to thank you so much for being open and allowing me to do this with you today. And I know you're so well respected in the greater CISO community and the Pittsburgh community here. It's been really an honor and a pleasure to be able to do this with you today. And every time that we talk, I always learn something, and I've learned a lot here today myself, and looking forward to challenging myself on some of the points you mentioned here as well. So thank you so much for imparting some of this.
Appreciate the opportunity, Dan. This is great. Look forward to what your team puts together, and